Good. Hey, good morning, Misfits. It is Sunday. It is the weekend edition. It is episode 424, April 19th. I hope everybody's doing well on this Sunday morning. Appreciate you being here. We had a great conversation yesterday. Lots of awakening yesterday, so that's awesome. Good to see everybody. Let me just check here in the chat. I see some comments going on in the chat. 424th Regiment. Yep, absolutely, RC. Good morning, Misfits. Good morning, multi-billionaires. Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. So I'm going to add, well, first of all, go ahead and send a, hey, Lovelia, how are you, my dear, from Panama? Good to have you here.
Costa Rica, Costa Rica.
Costa Rica, that's right. I know that.
I'm very happy to be on the call once again. And hi, everyone.
Good to have you back, Lovelia. So go ahead and send out your three messages of joy, of gratitude, of appreciation. And I'd ask yourself, have you been consistent in doing that? I know some of you are, because I get some of your messages. But I'd ask yourself if you've been consistent in sending out those messages, because that's how you start your day, whether you're on this call or not. And if you do that, you'd be amazed at what happens at a level of consistency. So send them out, 3 messages. Why 3? I don't know. There's something seems to be special about the number 3. When you do 3 of something, right? In speaking, there's the speaking of 3s. There's just a lot of things like that. So I'd encourage you to go ahead and do that. Send out your 3 notes: joy, gratitude, love, appreciation, smiley faces, whatever it is. It's when you send it out, you give room for more to come in. That's all. So I'm going to go over a couple of notes here, read a few things. Where is she? There she is. Good morning, RBP.
Good morning.
She sent me a lovely note.
Did she? She's good. She's good that way. Hey, when you get settled, could you give us a little blessing to start our Sunday morning?
Oh, I'd love to. Let me do that. Let me put my coffee down so I don't burn myself. Okay. Okay. Let me put this phone up. Here we go. All right. Let's bless this morning. Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for waking up. Thank you for a warm house and a pillow and a blanket. Thank you for loved ones near us and around us. And thank you for the loved ones that are on this call. Thank you for the encouragement and the joy and the love you bring through perfect strangers on a morning call. Father, everything we do today, let it glorify you and honor you. Let it be us getting out of the way so you shine brightly through, and so that all the blessings you have prepared for us pour forth. Anything that's been taken away, let it come back tenfold in abundance and beauty and glory and grace and in love and joy and mercy. Father, thank you for Sean. I lift him up to you. I ask that you be over everything that comes out of his mouth. Control every thought. Holy Spirit, you are here and you are welcomed here. Be with Sean as he delivers every single thing that it is you need us to hear. Open our hearts so it'll settle properly and settle with us and grow us into the person that you have already designed us to be. Help us to see everything you've put inside of us and help us to share that with others. And we'll give you all the glory and all the praise in the precious name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So let's check in here. Okay. So it's a meditation last night and this morning. I want you to think about it this way. What we're doing here is not a technique. It's a technology. It's a technology. It matters not, the conversations we have matter not whether you're male or female, race, creed, or color. It works all the time. It's kind of like your iPhone. The iPhone works around the world, no matter where somebody turns it on. It's a technology. And you've just got to learn how to use it. Because this is about the mechanics of life. If you think about the mechanics of life, if you think about the mechanic of anything, if you think about the mechanics of this pen, if I do that, if you picked up this pen and you've never seen it before, would you know how to use it? I think the answer would be yes. Now, would it be the right color for you? Would it be the right thickness of the point, right? Is it gel? Is it ink? Is it rollerball? Is it a variety of things? But you know how to use this pen. You know how to write. You could write in any language in this pen. You follow me on this? This is to make this simpler, not more difficult, right? So wait a minute. No, I pick up this pen. Wait a minute. There's no button on it. Oh, there's a cap. So if I take the cap off, I know how to use the pen. I know how to access the device. Y'all follow me on that? So this conversation that we know of human mechanics is about learning how to read the ultimate user's manual. If you grasp this, if you begin to let that sink in, then there can't be anybody out there, anything out there. If people are writing bad things, if people put bad things in the newspaper, does this pen care? No, because it's not the pen, right? That's why they say the pen is mightier than the sword. It's the person that's writing it that decides how this works. So what program are you writing for yourself? Listen carefully. You know, we talk about Brene Brown. We talked about her a little bit yesterday. We talk about shame versus guilt. Where does the shame versus guilt reside? Doesn't reside out there, resides inside here. Listen to this. You are not the problem. You can never be the problem. You are only the solution. You are the solution. You are always the solution. Now, if you're having a crappy day, that's your solution. If you're having a good day, that's your solution. Because right now, there might be somebody on this call right now, 31 people, who's having a little bit less than average day. And there's some other people on here who might be having a wildly extraordinary good day. So if it's out there, then it has to be influencing us. But if it's in here, we're the one in control of it. So are you being influenced, or are you not choosing to have control? Here's the key part. Your involvement will determine your success. Now, if you've ever run a group, if you've ever put on a Zoom, if you've ever run a meeting, whether it be live or on digital, as the meeting presenter, as the meeting host, when you ask questions, you'd say, man, I would love if more people got involved. I'd love if the guests who show up at my event to hear about my business opportunity would ask questions. That would be awesome because I could serve them. Those that get involved have a different level of success. Here's the question. Are you okay with becoming involved with your own awareness? Right? I think we've all heard of the Bible. Most of us have heard of the Bible. Some of us might even know some quotes out of the Bible. Some of us might even be able to read it and tell you what this does and that does and who said this and who said there and all of this other stuff. Why does somebody know a lot about the Bible and others don't? Simple answer: involvement. Why do other people go through life in misery and pain and other people go through life in joy and happiness? Simple answer: involvement. Becoming involved in the way the mechanics of you operate. You are the only solution for you. No matter the book you read or the people you listen to, it's always a matter of how you apply yourself. Here's the hard part: so you can be present. What are you doing in this moment, in the state you're in right now? How did you get here? In this moment right now, where you sit, where you're sitting, laying down, sitting up, whatever it is, how did you arrive there? How did you arrive there physically? Hopefully, you were the one that got you to the position, the spot that you're currently in. Are you sitting angrily? Are you sitting happily? Are you sitting despondent? Are you sitting frustrated? Are you sitting happy? Are you sitting in joy? Are you sitting in misery? Guess what? You also got you there. Because it's never the outside action. It's the response we have to the outside action. Can you be present? When you understand that this idea of joy or misery is a simple operation of mechanics in the body, changing the way you think, that's mechanics, changing it, creating new chemicals, right? Creating oxytocin in the body. That's a chemical. That's a manufacturing process. That's a technology. Emotions, that comes from a technology. What is the thing that beat your heart while you sleep? Where is that energy source? There's something that controls you from the outside. There's something that beats your heart and does all of the things that it does. What is that source? Can you connect to that source? Have you plugged into that source? Or have you constantly been ignoring it? Are you okay from going from untruth to truth, from darkness to light? If we think about engineering, we have a couple of engineers on the phone. It's about creating something. It's about designing something so that it will last. Think about that. There's a church in California that they built it out of these stones. The stones are huge. I mean, and this is a recent build. And they built it to last 600 years. And it's amazing. You can walk in there and there's just this sturdiness, this solidness to it. Most DOTs here in Texas, I think they're building bridges to last 120 years. That's the design behind them, to last 120 years when they put them up. If you had to design something to last 5 minutes, and you had to design something to last 5 hours or 5 years, might the construction be different? And if that philosophy and if that truth is true, I believe it is, listen carefully. Can you design happiness into your life to last 5 days? If you lose joy, it's this basic. If you lose joy, your design is flawed. Follow me. If you want joy or misery, I choose joy. Design it, engineer it into your day. What are the thoughts you're having? Right? The 6 areas of influence: personal ability, personal motivation; social ability, social motivation; structural ability, structural motivation. That's engineering in success into your day. Are there people who are worse off than you? Are there people that look at you and go, if I could only have their life? Even if they know all of your pain and suffering, do you think there's people who are worse off than you? I think the answer for all of us might be a very positive and without a doubt, yes. So how could our life be so wonderful? Well, because somebody's not having such a wonderful life. Could our life be better? Then if it can be better for some and worse for some, that's just a design of engineering. You read a book, you read Think and Grow Rich, you read How to Win Friends, Influence People, you read Science of Getting Rich, you read the manual, you read Your Life is Waiting, Fearless Living, you read all of these different books, The Millionaire Next Door. Isn't that reprogramming? Isn't that helping to design your engineering? And here's the question. If you read a book once and get some stuff out of it, how much has that formed, reformed, new construction, newly designed engineering been put into your body, been put into your mind, been put into your soul? Yeah, I can't quite remember what Chad, I'm not sure. That's why it might serve you to read it again and again and again till you get the results that you want. If you read the book and were happy and you're no longer happy, I'd go back and read the thing that made you happy. This is truly a technology. There is no mystery to it. I lay before you life and death, choose life. Even gives us the cheat code. Comfort is based on how we feel about the quality of our life and what is around us. There's people who are in mansions who are miserable, and there are people who are on the street who are ecstatic. Yes or yes? There's people who are on the streets that are ecstatic and people who are in mansions that are miserable. Comfort is based on how we feel about the quality of our life based on what surrounds us. That's why you can go to an old friend and you can sit and you can have, I don't know, you can split a beer and be absolutely ecstatic. Or you can be around some people in a 5-star, 3-star Michelin restaurant and just be having the worst time ever. Joe Dispenza says, we're only subjective to the information we receive based upon our emotional state at the time. How are you engineering joy into your life? What controls do you have to engineer joy into your life? What design do you have to make the world a better place for you? It's why when you send the 3 messages out, that's part of engineering in your design. If you don't do that, that's a clue. You're the person that we see running down the highway with a tire that's way low, and you can see it as you're coming up on the car and you go, your tire's low. Yeah, I know. Thank you. and you still run around with a tire that's low, and you wonder why you keep getting a flat. You wonder why you keep getting left behind. Every day that tire's flat. You put in air in it yesterday? Well, no. Well, how do you think it was going to get filled up? We sacrifice joy for comfort. Would it be fair to say that we live in a world where we have more conveniences of comfort than our parents did? Or at least definitely our grandparents did. Do we have more conveniences of comfort? Air conditioning, Wi-Fi, phones that we connect with, automobiles that run smoother, better, faster, safer. Technology, wearable technology. Would it suffice to say that we live in the most comfortable society that's ever existed? Us that are on the phone, that are on this call. So if that's the case, do we have more technology now than when we were kids? Yeah, I would say yes to that as well. We wouldn't be having this conversation if we were 30 years ago. We just wouldn't exist. So when we were younger and we had less technology, less conveniences, we were happier. We were more joyful. You've heard me say this before. When we were 5 years old, we were more joyful than we are now. Even though we were living the life of a prisoner. We were told when to wake up, what to eat, what to wear, what not to eat, what to say, where to go, what not to go, what we could do, what we couldn't do, what we could get at the store, what we couldn't get at the store. We were a prisoner, yet we were more joyful. We lived it with more joy. Then we now become the masters of all we purvey. We're the masters of everything we have. And we're in misery. We're not in total joyful bliss. It's hard to take a box and turn it into a rocket ship right now. You could, you used to. Turn a bucket into a knight's armor, a stick into a sword. Yeah, but that's kid stuff. How did you know how to have joy engineered into your day? Who made you joyful? When you were told you can't go or go to your room or do this or do that, who wound up having the joy? Where did you find the joy? It was engineered into you because you didn't have all of this other conversation that goes on. What do they think of me? Who is this? Who is that? We worry about how the world is outside of us. I shouldn't say we worry. We become perplexed by the way the world is outside of us. Why do they do that? How come they're doing this? What is that going on over there? What's that doing to me? Why are they all for that and I'm not for that? Why am I against that? Here's the question. How are you within? Where's the battle within? How are you within you to sit quietly? You know why everybody says meditation is a good thing? Because meditation be a good thing. You know why they come up with a 15-minute meditation? To lure you into the fact that you'll think you meditated for 15 minutes. You did something good. How many of us have ever been out there in riding? How many of us remember roll down windows? Anybody remember roll down windows? Type an R in the chat if you remember a roll down window. And what was the first thing you wanted to do on a summer day? Because if you had roll down windows, you probably didn't have air conditioning. So if you rolled down the window, how many of you stuck your arm on the outside and you just started playing with the wind? Y'all remember that? Any of you done that this year so far? Played with the wind? Why do you play with the wind? Why do you do that? It's so that you can feel the world. It's fun. That you can actually have some influence and you can see yourself. It is cool. It's neat to feel your arm move when you have the direction and something guides it, something lifts it. So first question is do you have wind in your body? Now, I'm not talking about your significant other who sits next to you and goes, catch that one and paint it green. I'm talking about the wind in your soul that moves your body. Are you stagnant? What's the joy you're looking for? Can you be childlike again? Where did the childlikeness go? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Jesus had a great time when he was with the little kids. Isn't that what we're all supposed to be, little kids? In wonder and in awe, and ask goofy questions. When did it become us versus them? When did this story inside you change? So if you see everybody in joy, are they able to influence you? If you see everybody in misery, are they able to influence you? Who's to blame? If you look around at the world and everybody's joyful and you decide to be joyful, that's your control. If you look at the world and everybody's not joyful, everybody's got an issue or problem or situation, it is not them. The only way you can have a feeling, the only way you can have an emotion, the only way you can have an experience is from the inside, what you say about the experience. If you have a choice, misery or joy. And what are we really looking for? The highest level of pleasantness. Do you ever describe somebody as they're just pleasant? What would a pleasant situation be like? What would a pleasant life look like? The highest level of pleasantness. What does it feel like to be pleasant? At peace? Who takes your peace away? It's only a thought. Can you be in handcuffs and be pleasant? I think the answer to that is yes. Can you be in handcuffs and be furious? I think the answer to that is yes. Is it the handcuffs that make you pleasant or unpleasant? It's a story you're telling yourself. Do you ever meet somebody who seems to be able to get out of tickets all the time? Why? It's the energy you show up with when they show up at the window. It's a knowing. So what are you doing to engineer? When you read books, that's engineering joy or success into your life. When you attend events, that's engineering success into your life. That's what you hope it's going to engineer success into your life. When you speak in front of a room, that's engineering success into your life. When you sit in an audience, that's engineering success into your life. What are you doing with this internally? See, we've done so much on the outside. Listen, they say the average person spends between $400 and $500 a year on the outside of their head, and less than $6 on the inside. So when you go to have a conversation with a prospect, chances are they've spent $400 or $500 on the outside of their head, and they've spent about $10 on the inside. They may look the part, but there's not a whole lot of depth to the engineering as it relates to what we talk about in personal development and MLM, me loving more, and building a business. You know why Uber took off? You know why Lyft took off? You know why Airbnb took off? They became the biggest in their industry without ever owning the core product that they represent, real estate or taxis. Have you ever thought about how Uber took off and did what it did? Because everybody already knew how to drive and everybody knew how to ride. We did not have to teach them how to use it. You know why we still have churches, and now we have, 838 colors of different churches, meaning different varieties, different flavors, different preachers, different this, different messengers, is because we have 475 varieties of Oreos. Everybody's, yeah, but I only like double stuff. Those other ones, but double stuff is good. It's the same Oreo. No, it's different. Okay. It's the story they let you tell that it's different. So the reason we have all of these different churches and different ministers and places, one, because of, well, listen, I don't want to drive an hour to church. That's too far. So that's why there's a CVS on every corner. That's why there's a McDonald's within miles. That's why there's a Home Depot within miles. Unless, of course, you don't have the population, you don't qualify to get one of our conveniences. Did y'all ever think about that? You don't have the population or the spending power, we ain't showing up. You don't get the good stuff. So how far do you have to go to engineer success? Is it worth the journey? Is it worth the trip? Speaking of engineering success, probably going to be doing a retreat in August. And at that retreat right now, about 16 people can come to the retreat. Some people go, yeah, I'm in. Other people say, how much is it? Other people say, when is it? Totally get it. All valid questions. All to decide, is it worth the journey for more engineering of success? Dakaya, you have your hand up, my love.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I wanted to share some things from yesterday. I know when Diane, Rhonda, and I think Monique were talking, I think one of the three of them said something pertaining to falling. And I'm reading Catcher in the Rye, if we haven't remembered. So the idea of like falling like over the call field, and you said, where does that child go? And I was like, well, what if they're scared in the rye field, and all we have to do is go back and grab their hand and tell them that it's okay. to jump or fall into adulthood and come with us. That, and I was just like so happy because I was like, oh my gosh, how in the world does an earthworm have 5 hearts and no ears or eyes or like kidneys, and like they breathe through their skin? And I don't know, that was just like the most amazing thing to me yesterday.
Okay, say that part again, because did we talk about that on the call? Or did you just research that?
Oh, I researched that yesterday, and I was like, I was sleepy. So I was like kind of, okay, so yesterday before I got on the call, I had researched it and I had been doing it for like 4 hours, and I went through like birds, spiders. I was on like a whole thing. I went through elements and everything. And by the time I got on the call, like I was half asleep and I forgot to share it. So
say it again.
okay, so worms, they're so fascinating because they don't have eyes, ears, teeth, kidneys, lungs, or a nose, and they think, feel, and breathe through their skin and muscle, and all they have is a mind, a mouth, and a body.
And how many hearts?
5 hearts, and that one blew my mind. I was like, 5 hearts, and I was like, what does that even sound like? Do they all beat at once? Or like, do they, oh my gosh, like, is it like a drum? Like, oh my gosh, I want to hear that now. What do worms' heartbeat sound like? That, and I went through like comparisons because I was like, okay, well, we have worms and then we have snakes, right? What's the difference? Well, snakes have eyes, they have internal ears, scales, and they don't have teeth. They can unlash their jaws, and they smell through their tongue. That one was a little interesting to me. And I was like, I don't know if worms are cold-blooded. I know that snakes are. And I was just like, I was like, they both live almost in the dark, but somehow we're scared of one and not the other. And I was like, is that because we don't understand it? And then I was like, oh, I went through another comparison too. What was it? It was spiders and butterflies. I was like, I'm sorry, but butterflies are ugly too. Like when you look at them up close. And I was like, the only thing pretty about them is their wings. And then I was like, but I'm terrified of spiders. And I was like, is it because they have like 8 eyes and 8 legs? But I'm like, butterflies have antennas and legs too. And I'm sorry, they're so ugly when you just look at them up close. But I'm like, we get so distracted by their beauty that, oh, wow. We get so distracted by their beauty that we don't, I guess, care about the ugliness of them.
Maybe we never get to look too deeply into them.
That too. And then anything that presents itself as ugly, we're automatically like scared and like running away from.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm still going to run away from a spider and I'm probably going to panic, but maybe like a little less.
So would you say that are there people that you know that don't scream running out of a room like a little girl when they see a spider? Do you know anybody like that?
Like everyone else in my family.
Okay. So then how is it possible that they don't run out of the room screaming like a little girl?
I don't really know how to answer that.
So would you say that their response to that spider has been engineered into them to react a certain way, that it was designed to, they don't fly out of the room because they're engineering the programming that they run off of. So spiders are not scary. I don't want it on me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, if it's there on the wall, Mason's that way. Mason will walk by a door and he'll see a spider and he'll go, "Whoa!" I'm like, dude, you're 6'2", 265 pounds. It's a little spider. And then you go right?
Yeah. And
That's
you know what?
the
I think,
engineering response.
right. And I think, you know what it is because when I was in my house some years ago, spiders would always like find a way like on my bed or like near my pillow. And I think that's where I just started getting like the fear comes from. So like even just seeing one, I'm like, he's gonna attack me.
So would you say you're at peace or not at peace when a spider shows up?
Not at peace.
So here's the question. Did the spider take it?
No, I jumped out of it.
So that's the engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So if your life energy
Mm-hmm.
is pleasant,
Yes.
we call that peaceful. So how can a little spider, how have you engineered your life to let a
It's in my
spider
head.
take you out of peace? Just a
Oh, it's in my
conversation,
head.
just something to look at.
Yeah. It's in my head and it's a reaction. It's not a response.
Right.
And I'm reacting to when like they would be crawling on me or they would be like a little too close for comfort.
So just something to think about.
Yeah. Thank
So
you, Sean.
here's the thing. If we're all searching for heaven
Mm-hmm.
and heaven is bliss,
Mm-hmm.
how are we ever going to see it if we're not blissful here?
Oh,
We're hoping that it's something.
right.
Are we hoping it's just a little bit better? Right? If I have a house and my house is run down, but my neighbor has a house that's the same size, but they got windows in their house, right? If I put you in a box that's 5 by 5
Mm-hmm.
and a month later you're screaming, crying, complaining, I need bigger. And I say, you know what? Tomorrow you get free. Tomorrow we're going to put you in a box 10 by 10. You're like, oh, this is so much better till day 2. And then a month of that, and you're like, please free me. And I say, okay, tomorrow you're going to be free. We're going to put you in a box 50 by 50. Oh my God, this is amazing until day 4.
It's being
Anytime we bump up against a boundary, we want to pursue it. You're sitting in the room, anybody's sitting in the proverbial room, and the proverbial spider, be it whatever it is in their life that shows their boundary between peace and joy, between happiness and misery, shows up and it rattles that boundary. It closes them back in. Every time you see a spider, you are in a mile by mile wide box. And the spider shows up and you go to the 5 by 5.
yeah. More like a 1 by 1.
Or it could be a 1 by 1. But it wasn't, the box didn't change. It's the boundary you set up.
Right.
My peace is not possible in the same room with a spider. Okay. When will your pleasant come to you? Here's the question. This is for everybody. By what means? So if a spider is your kryptonite, what's your joy? You know what your kryptonite is. You know what drives you crazy. You know what drives you out of joy and peace. But what do you know what pulls you into joy and peace? By what means? Is it singing? Is it dancing? Is it knitting, crocheting, making cookies? What brings you joy? And by what means? That question is for all of you.
I know I like reading. I like dancing. I like music.
Yeah, but you're saying the wrong word.
Oh, love.
For peace. Yeah. My question is, what brings you joy? Those aren't joyful. Those are likeful. Those are temporary, momentarily joyful things. But what brings you joy? How long should joy last? Listen, if you all want joy, have any of you, let me ask you this. This is a tough question. I know the answer, but if you've ever experienced a joyful, blissful state, type J in the chat. Just the letter J. So here's the hard part. How come you're still not in it? Was it an outside influence that made you joyful, that allowed you to experience joy on your inner engineering? And then if you were able to experience it, where did your engineering fail that you left the joyfulness behind? How you maintain it is the factor with which is not letting the spider show up or letting the spider show up. I know it's easy to say this, but the things that take us out of joy are our own proverbial spiders.
Well, I've gotten better.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. Listen carefully. You all ready for this?
Uh-oh.
Why are you okay living life on installment plans?
Oh.
You can't get to joy on installment plans. It is an absolute shift that has to happen. I'm going to have a little joy today and then a little joy tomorrow and a little joy the next day. It's never going to happen because the joy is so minimal that the whole rest of the world's kit and caboodle of poo-poo and boo-boo overwhelm us with every other breath. This is not, you do not get joy on, it is a change, it is a shift in who you are. Living life on installment plans of joy, let me know how that works out for you.
Yeah.
So if you've known
Got some
joy, then
things
here's the
worked
tough
on.
question. If you know joy, and most of you typed a J in the chat, maybe all of you, I didn't count them, but if you know joy, so then the question is you're okay with failing all the time when you choose to not have joy, because that's all it is. It's either joy or misery. So you choose to either fail joy or be success at misery. Who said you have to have joy on the installment plan? When you have a child as a mom, I can only speak to being a dad, but when you have a child as a mom, there's a level of joy that even though if the kid does that, I couldn't imagine parents when I'd see them with their kids and they would you'd be out at a restaurant and they'd give them some kind of new food. They'd give them a pole bean or a lima bean or fried okra or something. And the kid would chew on it and then you'd see their mouth going, and the parent just sticks their hand underneath there and I'd be like, oh my God. Right? Like, how could you do that? But soon as Mason came around and the first time you gave him something, you go, there goes the hand. It's like, what was the shift that happened that I wouldn't touch their kid with a 10-foot pole, but my kid can throw up all over me and it's like, ugh, now I got to change. Y'all get this? Living joy on the installment plan doesn't work. It makes us miserable. Unless you use the favorite word of Jim Rohn, until. See, these are those moments. These are the moments you heard yesterday when Kayla said, I hadn't told my story. These are the moments you hear yesterday when Heather said, I didn't tell my story. These are the moments you hear from Leslie Hebert. And she said, when I didn't tell my story, Fiji or DG. When I tell these stories, when I have these moments, it's a moment, it's enough, and you're no longer on the installment plan. But what happens is that every time that you get a little more, what do you want? We're creatures of more. Every time you want a little more, you want a little more. Every time you want a little more, you want a little more. And every time you bump up against a boundary. So there has to be a reality. Choose joy or misery. There's always a boundary between the two. And when you step into joy and stay there, or step into misery and stay there, there is no longer a boundary. That's why we say people have a mood. And then they just become grumpy. They've chosen misery. They've done misery very well. Can you do joy very well as opposed to the installment plan? This is inner engineering. Nothing on the outside can change you. right? There's a couple of stories in the Bible where somebody goes into a furnace and they're in there having a party. I don't know if they played cards or not, but they're having a party because nothing on the outside could affect them. Somebody had to walk through the den of lions. It's the same floor he stepped on with every step he took, whether the lions were in there or not. How many of you are walking through a den right now that you think it's filled with spiders? Yeah, I figured we'd get a giggle out of you. It'd be like, ooh, don't say that. Right? Or for some of you, I don't know, three-legged cats. Maybe three-legged cats scare the bejeebies out of you. Right? There's something that scares you that if you walk through a room blindfolded and you did not know they were there, they couldn't affect you. How would you start to put on the blindfold to misery, the blindfold to people are crazy, the blindfold to people are idiots, the blindfold to my life isn't terrible, the blindfold to I'll never understand this business? And you just went out in joy. You realize right now, if you wound up deciding to no longer put joy on the installment program, having to go to Walmart every other week and pay for joy, quite literally, possibly, what would happen? What you might become aware of in this new joyful state with no boundaries, limitless, ever unending. So, have you ever eaten anything and it made you happy?
Yeah, I ate a peanut butter and jelly this morning.
How could that make you happy?
The feeling that it gave me of being full.
It's the story you told yourself. Not even the full. You've been happy when you fasted.
No, I get a little grumpy.
That's
But that's the story I tell myself.
The story you tell.
Man.
So, how long ago did you eat?
It's been about 10 minutes.
Okay. So, how long do you think till you eat next?
Maybe like another half an hour.
Okay. So, are you less than full right now?
No.
You ate 10 minutes ago. Your body's doing something with it. Isn't it digesting that food already?
Yeah.
So aren't you less than full?
Yes, but
yes.
but the story I'm telling myself is
right?
I'm full of joy right now.
Until you decide you want to eat again.
Right.
So up until the moment you decide you want to eat again, do you go into misery?
No.
No. Because you have two things. You have a way of constantly feeding your source, but it's a story you tell yourself. Did you drink water this morning?
No, I drank tea actually.
Okay. So when's the last time you had tea?
2 days ago.
Oh, so you should be in misery right now. If tea makes you happy, you have to be in misery.
Right.
So it doesn't make you happy. You're either minimizing the fact of what happiness is, what joy is, because joy ain't in a peanut butter jelly sandwich.
No, it's not.
It's the story we tell ourselves about the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I don't know about y'all, but when anybody makes a sandwich for me, it's 10 times better than the same sandwich I'd make for myself. So that's the story I tell myself. What are you doing to engineer joy into your life? And here's the question. If it is in a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, why would you ever stop eating it?
I wouldn't.
So at some point, no, I mean like right now, why aren't you eating peanut butter and jelly sandwich right now? Because you did that 10 minutes ago. You left joy 10 minutes ago.
Right.
If it's the action of eating the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, the action of making the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Once you ate it, it'd be like, oh, like Chinese food. There goes my joy. I'm going to be hungry in half an hour. Listen carefully. Here's one that'll kind of hit you. What you are deprived of becomes your highest goal in life. I don't have enough money. What becomes the biggest thing you want? I don't have enough food. That becomes the biggest thing. I don't have enough distributors. That becomes the biggest thing. What we are deprived of becomes the most important, becomes our highest goal. So if you're living in a deprived state, you can't be in joy.
Okay.
When you decide what joy looks like, when you decide that how you engineer it into your life. When Ashley went out the other day and was looking at the trees and seeing the leaves were different and hugged the tree, she's like, you know, I don't know that I've ever done this before. When you all posted your pictures from around the world hugging trees, there was something that changed in you. Be it the cuteness or the funness of being part of a community, hugging trees, being silly, being goofy. But I promise you, when you hug that tree, something changed. What is joy in your life? So let me ask you this. If you've had joy before and it worked, if you don't have it all the time, maybe it's time to try something else. People have tried money and it hasn't worked. People have tried fame and it hasn't worked. People have tried peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and it hasn't worked. To give them no longer the installment plan of joy. All of those things are installment plans. What can you do on the inner engineering? That's what I teach my students. That's what I work on with my students, is how to build that inner engineering.
I think there are some things that I just need to let go so that I can remain in my joy. Because they cause me to react and then step out of it. And it's all the story that I tell myself.
So here's another inner engineering question. What dumped you where you're at right now? Think about this, everybody. What dumped you where you are right now? Imagine being kidnapped. Imagine being just in the movies. You got hood over the head, knocked out, thrown in a van, dumped out in the middle of somewhere where you're at right now called your life. You got dumped right there and you wake up and you're like, how the hell did I get here? Anybody say that? How did I get here? Because if this here is not where you want, then you got dumped here. You got dropped off, rolled out the side of a van called life, and you just woke up where you're at right now. And you're like, how did I get here? And in that questioning of how did I get here, starts to realize you. How did I get here in the 6 areas of life? Family, finance, mind, body, society, spiritual. How did I get here? How did I get dumped here? Do you ever see anybody in a movie? You ever see any 3D? I'm sure there's some technology out there now where people look real, but they're really holograms. I mean, in the movies, we see that all the time, right? So if you ran up to a hologram and hugged it, could you ever hug it? Could you ever grab it? What if you were this hologram of joy? You absolutely looked as if you existed in this time and space, but when they went to go put a hood on you and kidnap you, they could never grab you. Wouldn't that be joy? When the spider comes in the room and it tries to scare you or jump on you, it can't jump on you because you're in joy. It jumps right through you. You don't even exist in its world, but you can show up in its world. And here's a real simple question. It's a deep question. If many of you that typed the J in the chat before, you've experienced joy. Let me ask you this. How many of you would like to get back to joy? How many of you would like that feeling again? And if you'd like that feeling again, then the question is what keeps you from that feeling? It's not your neighbor. It's not your significant other. It's not your kids. It's not your neighborhood. It's not your parents. What keeps you from joy is as close as your skin. Because how far away is joy? As close as your skin. You ready for this one? You've got too much education to learn. We've all heard that from Bruce Lee, right? Bruce Lee went to the teacher and he says, I want to learn. The teacher said, you can't. Your cup is already full. Who do you think's having a better day right now? Us or the earthworm with 5 hearts and a kidney or no kidney and breathing through their skin and no eyes or teeth? Can you have the joy of an earthworm? You've got the intellect of a genius, comparatively. Who's having a better day? We're in the same shit. It's in the same shit, but it's happy over there. How do we change that? What keeps us from joy? And as soon as you decide what keeps you from joy, the question then is, do you pick that back up? So this life in installment plans of joy, once you step into joy and decide to not go back, it's kind of cool. And when we look at, right, my dad used to say, if you can make good choices 51% of the time, you're beginning to own your life. When you can make choices 52%, 53%, right? If you were gonna go into partnership with somebody else, and it was your idea, your company, your design, your everything, but you wanted them as a partner because you know they have a skill, talent, or skill set that you don't have, but you wanted to remain ownership of the company. How much of the company would you need to own? Type it in the chat. Yeah, 51% minimum. But that 1% is the difference between who controls and who does not. So the question then is, in your life today, how much of it are you in control of? 70,000 thoughts? You're conscious of 3,000 to 5,000. It's a math problem. That's why we don't own our life, is because we get beat up every day because of our personal motivation, our personal ability, social motivation, social ability, and structural motivation and structural ability. It's a math problem, and there is no subtraction and division in life. There's only addition and multiplication. Well, I can't, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that anymore. The thought is always there. That's why you wind up doing it again. If you said, and listen, God bless us all. If we said, I'm not going to do that anymore. How many addicts would be cured if they said, I'm not going to drink anymore? This is the last time I'm having a drink. Every addict would be done. They would never drink again if that worked. So there is no subtraction in your life. Well, I'm going to divorce. How long do they still talk about the pain in the ass after the divorce? Years. You didn't divorce. You just stopped living together. They still have control over your thoughts. Stop living. I would encourage you to give up the idea of living life, living joy on installment plans. I'm happy on Tuesday, but Thursday and Friday are my crappy days. Can't wait for Sunday. I'll be happy on Sunday. I'm not happy in traffic. Why? When you can look at traffic and go, this is like moving art. I've been in Mexico. If you've ever been in Mexico City, I've been there 40 times. If you've ever been in Mexico City in traffic, in one of the red taxi cabs, and you're going 4 blocks in the rain, and it takes you 2 hours, it's like moving art. You ever watch the mobiles over a baby's bed that's not mechanized? See, I can say all this stuff. It's not mechanized. It just rotates based on the wind or the currents in the room. And the air conditioning comes on and it moves, and then the air conditioning stops and it slows down. That's like traffic in Mexico. It's joyful. It's like watching art move. Unless, of course, you choose to not see it as joyful. Today's Sunday. I get to go to church. I get to be happy. Woo-hoo! Get to get my Bible out. I get to get around some other praying folk, and then get out in the parking lot and go, that son of a bitch banged my car. Why live life at the 51% level? Yeah, you're in control, but man, you've got to do it's painful. When you decide no longer the installment plan, what changes? Everything. Everything changes. Have you asked what you're capable of? Have you asked yourself, what am I capable of? And then when you answer that, as you write the answers, do you step into joy or misery? What's your idea of a miracle for you? And who would be the grantor of that miracle? Who would have to grant you that miracle to come true? Isn't it you? Be it belief, be it transition. How many of us have miracles waiting on us? How many of us have miracles waiting on us right now for us to open our hands and receive it? How many of us have said, well, that'd be too much too soon? That's an old story. How long should it take for joy to arrive? That's the question. How long should it take for joy to arrive in your home, in your house, in your heart, in your head, in your hands, in your pinky toe? And which part of your body should not have access to this joy? I want to just be joyful when we put our hands over our hearts. What about your kneecap? Doesn't your kneecap want to be joyful? How about the ends of your hair? If you become joyful, and when you become joyful, what part of you would not be in joy? You can tell me all the places you hurt when you're in misery. My back hurts. My knees hurt. My legs hurt. My hip hurts. I get indigestion. I get a headache. My pain in my neck is ridiculous. What part of your body deserves to not have joy? Have you ever walked your body into joy? In one of my meditations, in my quiet place, there's this golden screen. Looks like a regular screen door, but it's just absolutely brilliant. The sun reflects off it. It's just this finest mesh of gold. Not even a gnat can get through it, but all of the breeze can flow through it. Breeze isn't restricted, but it is just this finest mesh. But in my energy place, I walk through that screen. My body just passes right through it, and the screen screens out fear and doubt. The screen screens out anger and misery. And as I walk through this screen, this black sludge appears on the one side of the screen. And it slides right down, kind of like one of those commercials on television. And it doesn't stick. And it slides right down and it goes into this little bucket. And I throw a little ball of light in there and it turns into happiness and joy. And it comes out like in rainbows and like fireworks. And then I walk back through the screen the other way. And I keep walking back and forth through that screen until there's nothing left on the screen. And it gets it out at like there's protons, electrons, croutons, and neutrons in your body. It gets it out at like that crouton level. I mean, it gets down there. I gotta put my glasses on. Every hour, Sharon. If I'm having days where I'm around fascinating people who are doing their best to challenge my joy, I go run through that screen. I'll take when I do my hourly check-in on myself, I'll go run and take a trip through the screen. Man, that seems like a lot of work until it isn't. How many of you can make a cup of coffee in the dark or get you a glass of water in the dark? How many of you can do some things in the dark? You can do things in the dark. I can run through the screen in the dark. I'll do it when I wake in the morning before I go to sleep at night. Listen, the world's looking for people like us to store its stuff in. When you're full of joy, you're a magnet for everything. Just not a magnet for joy. Yes, but I'm in the frequency of joy. You know what? Bullshit guy hides itself in the frequency of joy. You ever see those things those parasites that look just like they're a part of the wasp's body? We go, wait a minute, that's a parasite. That thing that was hidden there. Hidden right in plain sight. What are you doing to filter out all of this stuff? Some of this stuff is at a cellular level. It's at a nano level. It's so tiny. Let me ask you this. How much of a spoiled apple needs to be in a barrel to spoil the barrel? Not how many apples, how much of an apple? Anybody ever, I don't know, bananas. We put stuff on bananas or near bananas. You're not supposed to put a particular fruit near a banana. It makes it spoil or this, something. I don't know what it is. An apple makes bananas go bad or bananas make apples go bad or something, or a cantaloupe drives plums nuts. I don't know, something. But the fact is that there's things when they get in association with each other, accelerate things. That's right. Misery loves company. Of course it does. Joy loves company too. Is this making sense? This is inner engineering. This is looking at the tip of the iceberg of inner engineering. We haven't even gotten to the tip of the iceberg yet, let alone going below the surface to true inner engineering. But I want to start to give you the ideas to start to see it, so that as if we do go more into it, and if you do decide to go deeper into that, you'll begin to understand, and it's not this shock to the system. Einstein said this: everything should be as easy, or maybe it was Edison or Einstein, one of them, the great mind, said everything should be as easy as possible, but not easier. Inner engineering, this idea of designing and deciding into yourself and diving into yourself, it's easy. You're the only one in charge. The hard part is giving up the old story. Do I hear a bus?
Probably. Oh, there it goes. And here's Rhonda. Let's see how well that pink robe weathers the bus tread.
Tumbling out.
So one of the things I wrote down that I will go back, there's a couple things I will go back and read and answer is, as you're sitting here doing this, the thought that came to mind was, how long must we talk about change before we watch and listen for application? And what will it take to get past being comfortable hearing great information to actually get to application, or to watch application happen right in front of us? Are we so attracted to the distraction of hearing and listening and reading and watching that we don't apply it? Are we the little kid on the playground watching everyone play, but are paralyzed by fear, so we just watch? And is that someone or my definition of true joy? So that's what, that's what hit my mind and my heart. And then the one other thing that hit mine, and this is my spiritual walk, which is the same thing. Can I become so deprived of God's joy that I seek that the most? So am I content watching all the other kids play on the playground? And I'm like, well, at least I hear the laughter, and, I see the joy, and that was fun to see somebody on the seesaw and of the swings. They were having a lot of fun on those swings. They are really having a lot of fun. Am I content being that kid on the sideline? Reading, listening, writing would be the equivalent of that, whatever distraction I can possibly create, instead of seeing the internal lack of joy. So, Sean, I asked you about this a few times. I listen to you from a different perspective at times. Sometimes I listen to you as your student. Sometimes I listen to you as if you were a video placed in front of me and I'm having to dissect what it is you're doing to get people to say certain things or to react a certain way. And then sometimes I listen to you from the lens of a mentor, determining, is that how I would have said that? Or I'm trying to figure out how to say that properly. Well, it doesn't matter. I'll get lost in that. I look at you from multiple different ways. And when I do that, it helps me to see beyond listening, and it helps me see the application. And that's when I usually get off one of these phone calls and I call you instantly and I go, when so-and-so asked you the question, you did exactly what you told them they should be doing. You did it to them. You did it like you actually did it to them right in front of their face. So as we're sitting there talking about joy, it's the same thing. So can I be so deprived of joy that that's all I seek the most? And I think when you do that, everything else will fall into place. And then you have to not worry about buying so many books and so many trainings and so many this and so many that. The more times I have sat in joy recently has been, I would consider, some of my most successful times. But it's funny that you started with this, because I woke up early this morning and I was thinking about different things, and what kept coming to mind was what yanks me away from being joyful. That was everything that was resonating. But you and I do that often, just because we end up going to sleep on the same thought a lot of the times, or we are connected. Our energy is so connected that I was thinking the same thing. And when you said the whole concept of, are you divorced? And if that person still, rules your thoughts, then you're really not divorced. And my previous marriage popped up into my thoughts this morning, and my thoughts weren't frustrated or angry at that. My thoughts were, well, that's a moment in time where I've learned resilience. And it switched on me. So I thought, okay, when you said that this morning, I thought, okay, that's good. I have removed that, kept the joy from it, and removed the misery. So, and now I just want to walk around like a hologram of joy.
Well, and again, so we buy books on balance, we buy books on time management, we buy books on all of these things that to fit into these man-made pigeonholes that have been created. Go tell a 4-month-old, or I don't know, how old are babies when they begin to laugh? When a baby starts to begins to laugh, it can't communicate, but it can laugh.
Yeah.
Tell me who has control.
Right.
They lack all of the brilliance and all of the wisdom that we carry around, but they will make us pee our pants laughing. We want to be an influence. We want to be an Instagram influence. And these babies who know nothing about influence are getting millions of likes because it's the thing we all seek. How pitiful.
I see it in my daughter all the time.
Yeah. And how do we take that out of them? Kids are geniuses. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
How do we teach them? We can only teach them from our experience. Right? Nobody wanted cars. They wanted faster horses. Henry Ford's a goofball. So all of that to say, what this whole idea of balance of what? Balance of misery and joy? No, balance of family and lifestyle. Why? You can never be in balance if you're trying to balance it. You are either it or you're not. That's the illusion.
Mm-hmm.
When a fireman is running headlong into a fire, there is no balance. That's like, well, let me see, if I run into this fire, am I being balanced with my family? No, he's all fireman. Emergency room nurses and doctors. Oh, well, it's time for my break. in these highly charged emotional moments in life, we're all in. There is no balance. And that's when heroes are made. Can you be the hero in your own life and be in joy? For your own family and be in joy? There are things that take me out of joy. Absolutely. And it's usually something to do with Mason. Listen, I am not Gandhi, and I for an I believe the whole world blind. No, I tell you, I ain't there. I'm still working on inner engineering. But I do better than average for myself in that world. There's still some triggers. Dana, you got your hand up, brother.
Yes, thank you, Sean. Kind of a deep and beneficial session there this morning. I don't know what you munched down on before you went into your meditation, but can I get some?
It's called joy.
Joy. Yeah, yesterday was kind of a mind-blowing session, and one of the statements you made that I kind of want to use to lead into here, and that's you will change when you have something to change for.
Mm-hmm.
And that just happened to resonate with me because I've been outlining in preparation to write a book called Fractal Organizational Success Strategies. And I'm going to pull up my screen here so you can kind of see in the background there.
Whoa. Yeah.
You're talking about the seed of joy. One of the things I wrote down here is, what is your seed of joy? Is it your intent, or is it something that has forced you into having to make a decision? And all of that kind of related back to the book I'm outlining about on fractal organizational success strategies. I don't know if you're familiar with fractals, but that's what you're seeing in my background there. And fractals are repeating patterns. They are repeating patterns in nature. And, we didn't even know about them until just a few decades ago. And it came out of chaos research. People staring at washing machines and things, trying to figure out if there's a pattern to the chaos of life. And what came out of it was actually at IBM. They used to try to determine a means to predict, control interferences in communications. And boom, out popped a simple formula. The simple formula produced fractals. Well, in life, we have repeating patterns. The seed that we plant in our mind, whether it's joy or misery, creates a repeating pattern in everything we do, everything we see, and everything that is attracted to us. And how you interfere with that is kind of what you've been getting into here. That's why it was so intriguing to me. It comes down to making a decision. It comes down to what's inside of you. The repeating pattern begins inside of you. And the awareness is seeing the pattern and replicating the pattern you desire in every little action, every little moment. And if you can put a picture of a fractal in your mind, like some of these beautiful swirling fractals and the tree leaves, if you ever take a tree, go hug that tree. But up here on the right, you kind of see the lung tree.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that kind of interesting because that's a fractal evolution of a tree in the form of lungs. Now, isn't that an interesting way to just kind of point out fractals within? So I don't know. It's getting a little bit math and heady, maybe, but to me, being an engineer, scientist, and so forth, when you were talking about this, that's what popped into my mind. Because if I can find out what the fractal seed is, what the fundamental repeating pattern within me is that creates thoughts and feelings and actions, then I start to get a picture in my mind of everything I do. Does it fit that pattern I want to repeat? And I don't care if it's how I dry myself off in the morning or brush my teeth or how I butter my toast. Is there a repeating pattern that I could observe that I can then use to create the joy in life that I want? And can that then diffuse into other people's fractal patterns. So I'm going to leave that to you now.
Well, so Dana, here's the thing. I love this, but you know as well as anybody in genetics, if something changes, we call it a mutation.
Yep, you can interfere with a fractal pattern by changing anywhere along the line that which is the repeating pattern.
Right. So are we changing the mutation to the true pattern, or are we changing the true pattern to a mutation to serve us better? So again, that's a whole nother, right? A chicken and egg. I ordered both from Amazon. I'll tell you which gets here first. But that's the thing, is that if the pattern exists and this is who we are, and we're looking to change it, do we need to describe it as a mutation? Right? Because the seed only came from another seed, right? It came from another bloom someplace else. So it is this whole pattern. And those dialogues can just go on and on and on, because, right? How many forests are in an acorn?
Well, I think here's where the human condition comes into this, being human. And that is, you can make a decision at any moment to change your pattern. And you may have to overwrite some things with intensity, emotional intensity and experiences. Designing your experiences to match the new pattern you want may be the trick, because those experiences, those create attention, they create emotion, they create excitement. And every time you do that, you overwrite the old pattern and create the new pattern. And then when you start to see that replicating, you're on your way. Well, anyway, so it goes in the laboratory.
So it says in chapter 4.
Anyway, I wanted to share that particular abstraction here.
I appreciate you. That's awesome. But this is what this community is, folks. It's brilliant people at every level of their own life, who are brilliant in their life at this moment, because every one of you are brilliant in your life at this moment. That's what allows you to have this new idea and this new awareness, is your brilliance. Go tell an earthworm to be a snake. Go tell an earthworm anything. Ain't going to happen, right? Its intellect is very limited. We have this high intellect. We have this sharp intellect. What do we do with it? And if it's taking us out of joy, then maybe we need to check the pattern with which our intellect operates and runs us. Cool conversation. Well, there you go, folks. Another great weekend, another great conversations. Dialogues happen. So go ahead, Rhonda. I see you unmuted.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Did I unmute?
No, you're good. I was going to ask you anyways could you close us out in a blessing?
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to. I don't have to have my glasses on for that. Yeah. This whole new wearing glasses thing is new to me. Helpful, but new. Okay. Are you done? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
You listen, folks, that happens in our conversations too. When Rhonda will go, "Are you done?" So I can say something.
Oh, if they recorded all of our conversations, they would be entertained for years. So, okay. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the time you've allotted for us to be together today. Thank you that we've all shown up exactly where we're supposed to be. Thank you that our hearts have been open. Thank you that you've expanded our thoughts and you've planted your seeds of joy into our heart and into our mind. Father, help us to be desperate for you and your joy, to desperately seek you, to see that our shortcomings can all be fulfilled through you and through your joy that is indescribable and it doesn't move. It's always there. Help us to stay close to that and in it, and constantly meditating on that and constantly choosing that. Father, as we in our human brains begin to next or be concerned or worry, help us to identify your voice clearly, to hear the joy that is capable at any time, at any moment. Hold us close as we walk through our trials. Give us the words we need to correct ourselves and maybe speak into others and help them to turn and see your joy and see the possibility and to see how magnificent and amazing they are and how valuable they truly are. Help us to always be able to speak that over ourselves and one another. And when we fall short of that, scoop us up, hold us close, remind us gently, whisper softly and sweetly how much you love us and how much everything we need has already been given to us. Let us step into that and let us help others step into that. Help us to learn to create that place, just like we've had here today, to where we can expand our thoughts and we can arrive at the place you have destined for us. All the many blessings, all the many amazing things you have prepared for us. Father, be with us as we go out today. I pray a special blessing over each family, over each house that's here on this phone, on this message. Father, thank you for the technology that we can say prayers around the globe and we can lift our family and our friends up. And I ask that you bless them, abundance in their finances, abundance in their homes, and in their abundance of joy and love and peace and happiness. We thank you for all these. We thank you for this moment. And we say all this in the precious name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Rhonda.
Y'all send some love to each other. From your head misfit to all of you, I love y'all. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Love you guys too.
Thank you. This is an important conversation.
Love you.
My misfit family.
Love you
Have a
guys.
blessed,
Have a
joyous
great
day.
day. Love you.
Love you guys.
Stay in
Bye-bye.
that joy moment.
Thanks, Rhonda.
Bye, y'all. I love y'all.
Love
Have a
you
great
guys.
day.
I love you guys.